Hello, how are you, sir? Good to see you. Okay. Good evening and welcome to the April 28th, 2014 Hillsborough Township Board of Education meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order.
What's the name?
In accordance with the State Sunshine Law of New Jersey, adequate notice of this meeting of the Hillsborough Township Board of Education was provided on April 24th, 2014 to the Hillsborough Beacon and Courier News. May I have a roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood?
Sure. Ms. Bogoshevsky? Ms. Santafonte?
Here.
Mr. Dutta?
Here.
Mr. Gillette?
Here.
Mrs. Haas?
Here.
Mrs. Haley?
Here.
Mr. Pulsifer? Ms. Wasson?
Here.
And Mr. Kint?
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Let us rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. We have correspondence as is listed in the agenda, and I'd like to hand it over. First item on the agenda is the 2014-15 final budget. Just to talk about the process real quick, Dr. Schiff will present the superintendent's presentation on the 2014-15 budget. Then I'll open it up to the board members to comment or discuss. Then we'll open it up to the public for the public hearing on the 2014-15 budget. I'll close with the board, give them another opportunity if they so desire to have any follow-up discussion, and then we'll have a motion to vote on the final budget. So handing it off to Dr. Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Kintz. It's my pleasure tonight to present to the board and to the community the 2014-2015 final budget proposal. Just to review our budget calendar, we begin to work on our budget in October of the prior year, where principals and department heads submit their requests to me as well as to Mr. Mahmood, our business administrator. And we begin the process by making reductions, actually adding at times, and prioritizing each budget manager's presentation. In January, I submit a budget request to the board, and then each of the board's standing committees, the Education, Operations, and Human Resources, reviews each of the budget requests. On February 27th, we receive our state aid that helps us to understand exactly what the revenue picture side of our budget will be. On March 1st, the Operations Committee meets on a Saturday to develop the tentative budget for the board's review. The tentative budget was then presented to the board as well as to the community on March 10th. And then during the previous 6 weeks, the board has asked for input from the community, has thought a great deal about it. We've had conversations in public as well as at the committee level. And today I'll be presenting the final budget request for the 2014-2015 school year at today's hearing, and then at the conclusion the board will take a vote. As a result of a great deal of discussion and input that the board has received from the community, there have been changes from the tentative budget to the final budget, and I'd like to review them for you now. This budget maintains all current class sizes. It maintains all current programs. It fully addresses our strategic planning goals, including the one-to-one initiative and the world language programs, the Chinese program. It reduces 2 administrative positions, 1 existing, and that would be the district data analyst, and 1 budgeted, a technician. This budget also remains $1.3 million in the banked cap, and we do all of this without privatization. I want to take a few minutes to show you what we did in order to get there. This may be a difficult chart to read. I'm going to try to just walk through it with you. We will be moving forward with the one-to-one program, but it's going to be trimmed down to only the bare essentials. So, for example, we don't have a carrying case that we did with the pilot. We also have etching on the back of all of the teacher computers and the computers that we did with the pilot that has the H on it. We're not doing the etching moving forward. We just have the base unit as our per unit cost without any additional functionality whatsoever. It trims down what we initially had, but it still allows us to move forward with the one-to-one, allowing all children in grades 5 through 12 to learn in classrooms where each of them have a Chromebook device. We also calculated an estimated revenue from the process by charging parents $45 per device as an insurance fee. So rather than paying the whole unit fee if it is broken or lost, parents, if they pay the $45, would not have to worry about paying that cost. We anticipate having about 80% opt-in. During the pilot part of the program, we had 85% of our parents opt in, so we believe that this is a reasonable estimation. We're reducing our supply accounts by 10%. We're also reducing our anticipated cost increases during the second half of the school year from January 1 to June 30th from 15% increase to 13% increase. We currently have within the budget another maintenance vehicles, 3 minivans to transport students to out-of-district placements, as well as 2 small school vans. Rather than purchasing them outright, we will be lease purchasing them. We also keep within our budget a contingency for unanticipated special education students who go out of district, and we keep the contingency in the transportation line. So we had $50,000 per 5 kids as our contingency within that line. We're now reducing that from 5 kids. We're keeping it at 5 kids, but we're reducing it from $50,000 per student to $30,000 per student. We are also, as I mentioned before, reducing an administrative position, the district data analyst. And I didn't mention one of the reductions in the one-to-one initiative is a technician position as well. So when we reduce all of that, it gets us back to the $1.3 million to keep in the banked cap for future needs if the board sees fit to use it. And we do this again without the need to privatize. Just a review for the tax levy cap, there are 3 components. The first component is an increase of 2% off of last year's general fund tax levy. That's about $1.6 million. We also have banked cap, which is basically cap that we haven't used from prior years. This board has been able to put forth budgets that are actually below cap, and those monies are available for taxation through banking it, and we keep that in what's called the banked cap. We have about $2.9 million in the banked cap. We also qualify for a health care waiver. These are cost increases to health care that are beyond 2%, and they are indexed to the school employee health benefits plan. So the health waiver that we would qualify for is $482,000. And again, we are taxing to a particular rate that allows for $1.3 million to be available in the bank cap for future years if needed. So our estimated 2014 school tax rate, the levy is going up 4.32%. You can see both of the general fund tax levies for the 13-14 as well as the 14-15 school year. The proposed tax rate is 1.536 on $100 of assessed property value. And we've had discussions at this dais about the rolling assessment, the reassessment that's occurring within our district. The best way to determine as a member of the community how much your taxes are increasing is to multiply your assessed value in 2013 by the tax rate in 2013, which is 1.467. And then divide that by 100, and then take the difference of what your current assessed value is multiplied that times this year's estimated tax rate at 1.536, divide by the 100, and that will show you how much the taxes are increasing. In Millstone Borough, the levy's increasing 5.36%. That's 1.525 on $100 of assessed property value. And the same thing goes for Millstone as well. You multiply last year's assessed value times last year's rate, you subtract it from this year's assessed value times this year's rate, and you get the accurate increase. Cost drivers in our budget. Healthcare costs are always a concern. Remember, we're budgeting now 13% increase, and that is a cost that's far beyond where the revenue caps are currently within the state of New Jersey. It is imperative that these healthcare cost increases get under control. Also funding our strategic plan, we have an extra position in to articulate the Chinese program from the intermediate school up to the high school and allow for high school students to take Chinese 2. We do have about 30 children at the high school that are currently taking Chinese 1. We had unanticipated special education positions. We currently have 5 additional positions that are in the budget due to increased need. We also are seeing a significant increase in both our gas as well as our electric bills. And our fund balance is how much money is basically left over from our expenditures the prior year. Typically, we spend in our budget about 97% or so of our budget. Last year, we spent about 98% of our budget, and that kind of catches up to you the subsequent year. Each of these are cost drivers within the budget. How we've been managing these costs is actually effective on May 1st. We are changing from the Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield private into the state health benefits plan. We do a great deal of cooperative purchasing as well as shared services. We have a very successful revenue generating program called the Children at Play program, or CAP, which allows children in kindergarten to have for a fee to remain for the rest of the school day. I'm pleased to announce, and I've announced this during the tentative budget presentation, that over the life of this program, we've been able to generate close to $500,000. These are dollars that are allowed to offset other expenses in our budget. This year, we changed the starting time of the middle school back 1/2 an hour, and just by doing that, we were able to save in transportation costs $1.1 million this year. Significant savings to our community. We also have Educational School Solutions, which is a group that provides mental health support and services to children that are at risk and are needy at our high school level. These are children that would have gone out of district, and we were able to bring back some children that were out of district back in district so that they can be educated in their neighborhood school. This has saved our community close to $250,000 this year. We've also are doing a great deal of capital improvements. This summer, we have 3 roofing projects that are going on. Those roofing projects, this community will only have to pick up 60% of that. 40% of the roofing projects will be paid through a state grant entitled the Regular Operating District, or ROD grants. We're very pleased and proud that we were able to qualify for that. We are also going to be doing an energy savings improvement plan. This allows the board to do capital projects and finance those projects with the energy savings generated from those projects. At our next board meeting, in fact, the board will be receiving the final report on it and will be asked to act on it. We anticipate that we will be doing close to $15 million of capital projects without having to raise the levy one dime. And one of the things that we have spoken about as a school community is how important it is to provide classrooms that are comfortable for children to learn in and for staff to work in. I'm pleased to share with you that the presentation will include air conditioning at the 2nd floor of ARIS and the 100 and 200 wings at the high school. The construction of that will take approximately 14 months, so it won't be for this September, unfortunately. It'll be for the following September, assuming that the board is comfortable with the presentation and we move in that direction. But it's very exciting work. One of the reasons that the tax levy is increasing is because our state aid has not. For the past 3 years, our state aid has been flat, and this particular chart shows you over a 6-year period of time what our state aid allocations have been. And as you can see, in the year 2009, 2010, it was close to $1 million more that we received from the state than we're currently receiving or have received in the past 5 years. Our district has been fiscally prudent for a long time, for many, many years. The most recent data on our comparative spending, which is public data, can be found on the Department of Education website. It's entitled The Taxpayer Guide to Educational Spending 2013, which is the latest year, the most recent year that they have this data for. This is post-audited data from the entire state. Our spending per pupil is close to $1,100 less per pupil than the average in the state, as well as the average of similar districts. And the center bar is similar districts. The bar on this side, on your left, my right, is the state average, and then Hillsborough's average is all the way on the other side. So again, $1,100 per student, yes, less that our district spends than other similar districts throughout the state. Also, when we look at total administrative costs per pupil, Hillsborough continues to spend less on average than the state, as well as similar districts. So this is our final budget, which is almost identical to what you saw during the tentative budget. General fund is increasing by 2.79%. Grants and entitlements are federal grants and federal entitlements. We budget typically at 85%. That's why you see a about 15 to 17% reduction there. Our debt service is also going down by about 2.62%. The total budget all in is $117,670,066 for the 2014-2015 school year, an increase of 2.27%. Some key points again. This particular budget is improving the quality of the educational experience for the students by funding our strategic planning priorities, including the one-to-one as well as the world language programs. We are maintaining current class sizes, reducing administrative costs, we are not privatizing, and we're maintaining $1.3 million in the banked cap. And I appreciate your attention, and I'm ready for any questions that the board may have at this time.
First, we're going to open it up to board members. Like to any questions, comments, discussion?
I'd like to comment.
Okay. Mrs. Haley.
Thank you, sir. So I just want to correct something that Dr. Schiff said earlier. The township does not perform rolling tax assessments. They reevaluate a quarter of the town every year. We got ourselves into a little bit of trouble last time by saying rolling, so I just want to correct that. I hope that the audience and members of the public are pleased because Hillsborough is not an outsourced town. I think this board has made it very clear that that was something that we didn't desire. However, it's also our responsibility to explore every single option, as painful and difficult as it is. So, I've been on this board for 3 years, and every year we have surprises, just like we have this year, with energy, with extra special education expenditures. And I had said at the first presentation that dipping into the bank cap was something that, at least for me, was undesirable. Because when you're managing your money at home or you're managing your money in a business, you don't have extra money to dip into. And my fear is that, although I'm pleased to see the solutions that we've come up with, we have $1.3 million left. That'll probably be eaten up next year. And I'm really not sure what we're going to do after that, because we can't keep dipping into money that's not there. So it's a little scary to think about the prospects of what might happen in the next few years, because not one of us up here, nor does anybody else want to see, the most important thing is making sure that our kids get a great education. And a lot of things need to change in Trenton as well, because yeah, the healthcare costs are just something that's just not sustainable. They need to really take a look at the funding, Abbott districts. I mean, we have been doing an amazing job the past few years with being very responsible. So I want to thank everybody for taking a lot of time to help put this together and the administration. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mrs. Haley. Mr. Gillette.
Thank you. I'll start by thanking Dr. Schiff and his entire administrative team, and also the other board members for not giving up, first of all, for continuing to provide their input, their suggestions, both individually and at the committee level for ideas. That's how we came to the budget that you saw Dr. Schiff present by each of us giving our input almost on a daily basis, it seemed, at some point to Dr. Schiff, and continuing to work. I wanted to mention something about the presentation that maybe isn't clearly presented there, and also hits on something that Mrs. Haley mentioned. And I'd like the public to know that the entire amount of the tax increase, including using the healthcare waiver and the bank cap, the entire amount of the tax increase is exactly equal to the entire amount of increase in the 2014-15 increase in wages and health benefit costs. Exactly equal to that. And the interesting thing about that is that everything else we've been able to provide this year, 5 additional special education teachers, an additional teacher for Chinese, the near complete rollout of the one-to-one initiative, absorbing increased energy costs, all of that we were able to do within our current budget by redefining what our priorities were, to find efficiencies where we could. And I think that's the most remarkable thing about that. So the entire tax increase is exactly equal to the wage increase that was in the contract and the health care benefits increase. And as Dr. Schiff said, really it's the health care cost increases, notwithstanding the not insignificant contribution to premiums that our employees have made and continue to make. Our net cost of the increases is still astronomical each year. It really is what continues to drive this budget, and I can only hope that somewhere we'll find some relief from it. As Mrs. Haley said, we are left with the ability to increase taxes by an additional $1.3 million over the 2% cap in the future budget, the 15-16 budget. And I do anticipate that, knowing that we know for certain the costs of the wage increases for that year, which will be already negotiated, and I can anticipate what the health benefit increases will be, and no doubt there will be a discussion again next year about using that. I'm glad that we budgeted prudently in the previous 2 years to have that available, but it's tough. I like this budget. I will be voting yes, and that's about all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gillette. Dr. Sasan.
I too would like to thank Dr. Schiff and the administration that put this revised budget together, and the rest of the board members. All of the committees have met over and over and over about finding efficiencies. But I do want to point out, following what Mr. Gillette and Mrs. Haley said, that there's only so many efficiencies you can find. We've always budgeted very tightly here. And we've redefined priorities, but I don't know where there's more money to give. So I think we all have to proceed with caution, and fingers crossed, prayers, whatever it is that you do, that this doesn't continue, because as this amount of growth is unsustainable, and the taxpayers have to be prepared, as just our teachers and staff, that we can't continually do this every year. One of the things, before I was on the board, I asked Dr. Schiff his first year, why not go to cap every year? Because we've all heard about compounding interest. We've all heard about compounding interest. Each year you don't go to 2%, the next year you can't take 2% of that 2%. But this is, now we're back to like we went to cap at least some of those years. It is a very, very tricky place to be with only 1.3 million left in the cap. So I think as we move forward and negotiations continue with all of our unions, we have to keep in mind that this is not a sustainable way of doing business, and we have to find creative solutions along the way to be able to maintain our quality of education and our buildings in the district. So again, thank you to everybody, and thank you to everybody who's come out to speak on behalf of no privatization or whatever. Just giving your opinions really does matter to the board members. It is difficult every year, and it's only going to get more difficult. So I urge you not to wait until there's a draft budget to get input in, because by that time, then there's just hours for us to hear from you. So thank you to everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Sasson. God, I hate this format. No, I was just wondering if there's any more. Okay. All right. Just real quick, as president, I want to talk about the process. As I've articulated when I was elected as president earlier this year and also last year, one of the things that I try to do is to provide an environment among the board members where they can speak their mind, share their values, advocate for what they feel is right for the district, have a robust dialogue, and then after doing so, listening to each other, reflecting on that, and then proceeding as a board to act. This year, we've been able to do that. We've been able to do that, I think, in a more robust way than we have in previous years. We've had the benefit of some additional time that has been provided to us from the state. But I know that having sit on each of the committees, that there has been those robust discussions. Looks like we're all still hanging together as a board. And also, we've had a lot more public feedback, and that's another item that this board greatly values and appreciates. So I just wanted to commend the board, the administration, the public for being an active participant in this budget process. And with that, I'm going to invite public members to come to the podium to speak on the public portion of the hearing. You can state your name and address, please.
Good evening. Sue DeCenzo, resident of Hillsborough all my life and teacher of 23 years.
Okay. Hold one real quick. Just to clarify that this portion of the public speaking is specifically for the budget. We will have another item on the agenda to talk about where we'll open it up to the floor for new business or the action agenda, but this is specifically part of the budget hearing process, and so I just wanted to make sure that everyone was clear with that.
Thank you.
Continue. Thanks.
First of all, I do want to thank the board for hearing the voices of the public and for taking privatization off the table. I wasn't going to get up and speak because my speech is about privatization, but when some of you started to speak, it got me thinking that privatization is going to come up again in the future. So having said that, I wrote a speech and I'd like to share it with you, keeping in mind privatization for future speech therapists, instructional assistants, all the different bodies of people that work in our township. Tonight, I would like to take you on a trip down memory lane. 23 years ago, when I used to teach at Amsterdam School, when the weather got warmer, we used to teach with our outside doors wide open. My room, number 13, was on the wing that was close to the office, so sometimes my class would take a shortcut and just walk from the outside door through the front doors. Lots of times, if parents were dropping something off the office, they might pop their head in and say hi. Back then, if you walked into Amsterdam School and looked to your right, there was a cinder block wall. The office staff could not see who was entering the school until they got into the school and to the office door. Years later, I can remember sitting at a faculty meeting and being told that if we didn't recognize somebody walking through the halls, we should stop that person and ask them who they were and why they were in the school. I also remember the staff feeling very uncomfortable about that. about approaching somebody and saying, "Who are you and why are you here?" Sounds scary now, but back then it was just how school was run. Well, needless to say, times have changed. Our schools have changed because the world has changed. We have reacted to the senseless acts of violence and put measures into place to keep our children and staff safe. Now we teach with doors closed and locked. The cinder block walls have been replaced with windows, front doors are locked, and visitors are allowed in after they identify who they are and why they are there. In addition, the visitor must have a badge on at all times while in the school. I applaud the district for realizing the importance of taking these measures and seeing to it that they are followed diligently. Just recently, as my boys were entering ARIS and HMS, I was trying to find a school map online. I was told there are no school maps or floor plans online because it could be a security risk. Makes sense. Why would you put a floor plan of a school on the internet for anybody and everybody to view? Yet tonight, initially, we were going to possibly allow strangers into our schools on a daily basis. People who have access to the ins and outs of how our school system works, the floor plans, the keys to open doors and files, and access to student information. Sounds scary, doesn't it? And I'm thankful that the board did not surrender the right to handpick the staff that will be in our schools on a daily basis, instructing our children and keeping the schools safe. We all know that people can present themselves to look pretty good on paper, hence that saying of passing the paper screen comes into play when interviewing candidates. Once somebody has passed the paper screen, they are invited for a face-to-face interview, in which the administration gets to see if the person sitting in front of them is up to par with what the district is looking for. And let's admit it, I am sure every administrator has sat across from a candidate that looked great on paper, but from the first handshake, there was just a feeling that this person would not be a good match for Hillsborough. If you had allowed for privatization, you would be giving up the right to judge for yourself if a candidate is worthy of the employment in Hillsborough's school system. I thank you for not giving up that right and for continuing to hand select the qualified staff that works in our school community. As I stated earlier, schools across this country have changed because they have had to react to senseless violence. If our district had moved to privatization, we would have been inviting trouble through the door. And I urge this district and every district, don't let your district be the example that others will have to learn from. Keep our students and staff safe, and thank you for doing that tonight.
Thank you.
My name is Alice Dorschner. Address is 10 Yorktown Road, Millstone Borough. First, I'd like to thank the board for your careful consideration of the budget. I know it's a difficult process. As a former mayor of Millstone, I know the work and the struggle that putting together a budget involves. And as a Hillsborough substitute, I also applaud you for recognizing that you have a bank of very caring, intelligent, and informed substitutes that want to see your children succeed. So thank you for that. My question is, why is the tax levy for Millstone Borough higher than the tax levy for Hillsborough?
I'm actually going to turn the details of the question over to Mr. Mahmood. The levy is not larger. The increase as a percentage is larger.
Okay.
Mr. Mahmood.
The tax rate is based on the ratables that we get. So basically, if the ratables take a drop or there's a difference in ratables, that would impact the tax rate. So that's why, in essence, if you look at the Millstone ratables, you'll see that there's a decline in ratables, which would increase the tax rate.
Yes, I understand that. So because of flooding and other challenges, the homeowner now, the ratables, we have very few ratables. Yeah. So that's driving up our tax rate?
Well, also, when Millstone became part of, when Millstone ceased to be a non-operating district and became part of the Hillsborough school system, the responsibility for taxation went from Millstone back to back to Hillsborough. And I believe, and I'm just going to ask Mr. Mahmood to clarify this. I believe that there was a calculation algorithm that was given to us by the Department of Education.
That is correct, Dr. Schiff. This would be the last year in which that algorithm is provided by the state. So between the ratables and the rate that is selected by the state that we're required to tax Millstone, I think it was a 5-year plan. This is the last of the 5 years. Next year, that will change, and the board will have more of an impact or a decision-making process when it comes to that rate. So for now, Millstone is, besides the ratables, there's also a formula that's given to us by the state that would require us to follow that. Like I said, next year, that decision would be a local decision rather than a state decision.
Okay. I guess I have John Corzine to thank for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Jim Cox from Woodfern School. I'm custodian. And I'd like to thank the board for considering all the public opinion. Restores my faith in the board. A lot of times people say elected officials don't listen to the public, but obviously you have. And most of all the custodians. I'd like to thank all my colleagues and all the public for their support.
Thank you.
Good evening, 9 Upper Neshannon Court. Well, there's two things I'd like to talk about. First thing is a more narrow issue, so we'll get that out of the way first. It's concerning the language programs, specifically the Chinese. I was here a few years ago, and I was against the idea. I still am. I don't know. I don't know 30 students and comparing it to other languages like Spanish, Italian, and other languages that are offered. I don't know how big that is, 30 students, but it seems small because I did take language when I was in the school system here. So I'm against that. Second point, and if you'd like to comment once I'm done on that and on the other thing I'm going to discuss, please feel free. The second thing has to do with the avid districts. I don't know I know this is a state issue, but I don't know what you guys can do to push the state in the direction. I know Governor Christie has talked about getting rid of avid districts. There hasn't been much movement in the legislature. Avid districts have proven to fail. A recent news story on NJTV News stated that at Asbury Park High School, the average or the per pupil cost was over $30,000, and they have a graduation rate. I believe it was somewhere in the realm of about 50%. So I don't know what you guys can do as a board. I know it's a state issue, but I would like us to somehow push the state in the direction of getting rid of avid districts, because they really are a problem with what Mrs. Haley was discussing about the bank cap, and that's, I mean, that's a concern. So I don't know if in the next year we can somehow push the state to move in that direction to get rid of avid districts. Any comment on either 2 points that I brought up?
Real quick on the avid, that's a legislative issue, so it's out of our purview. And then with regard to the Chinese, we started that just recently. Mandarin Chinese is a recognized world language. It's a dominant language, and so that became part of the strategic plan, which had robust discussion among the board members.
Do you have numbers, do you have numbers on enrollment, or not enrollment, but class sizes concerning the other languages comparatively to the Chinese, just so I can get an idea to see if it was actually worth the money that we spent on a new teacher for this new language?
I think it's a little early. We've only had Chinese 1 at the high school, and we're expanding it at the other levels. We have implemented it at the elementary levels. So I think we're going to continue to see interest and enrollment increase.
And is there a proposed, again, I'm sorry, is there a proposed to hire more Mandarin Chinese-speaking teachers in the future? Is that an idea? Or?
As the demand increases for the classes, for any world language class, the staffing would be made appropriately.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Sylvia Scazzari, Auten Road Intermediate School. I would like to thank the board and administration on behalf of Auten Road custodians for reconsidering the privatization. The one thing I would like to make comment on is the rising healthcare costs that, a couple board members had commented on. In my opinion, I think the board has been spoiled because the staff has been paying 18% for the last contract, and we continue to pay towards our health care. So on your part, I think you guys need to get together and find some cost-effective savings along the way, because we can no longer make up for the health care costs. I understand that you guys have no control, as we have no control, but nobody else around us have been paying into our health care like we've been paying. Again, I would like to thank everyone for the reconsideration of the privatization.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Amy Salinger, teacher at Auten Road Intermediate School and treasurer of the HEA. I first want to thank you for presenting a budget that does not include the firing of any of Hillsborough family members. I understand it was a difficult task, and this time we were able to find a solution. I also realize this will probably not be the last time we face tough decisions, but I do hope it's the last time we consider privatization in Hillsborough. As I think about the very real concerns when it comes to our school budget, one topic continually comes to mind: unfunded mandates. Whether it's complying with anti-bullying laws, adhering to the new tenure law, or working towards being ready for park implementation, when all is said and done, these are all examples of mandates coming from the State Department of Education. All of these mandates come with a price tag, and yet the state is not properly funding many school districts, Hillsborough included. In articles from the Education Law Center, it states that New Jersey did not make use of the state funding formula when determining aid for school districts for the 2014-15 school year. The Ed Law Center also has an article from April 14th saying new aid notices would be given to districts on or about April 28th. I hope Hillsborough is the recipient of extra aid. It is well known we've been unfunded by the state for years, yet the mandates keep coming. Along with the 2% caps, how do they expect us to pay for these mandates without drastically cutting quality for our students? Many of you have expressed concerns about raising taxes, and I agree with you at the core of your reasoning. However, I would urge you to address the root of this problem, and that is in the state funding. I often ask myself, when are districts going to band together and say enough is enough and tell the state no thank you? Well, it looks like some districts are finally taking a stand. Articles from NorthJersey.com show examples of this. In Fairlawn this calendar year, their local Board of Ed passed 2 resolutions. One asking the state for full compensation for implementation of the strong evaluation plan to adhere to the Achieve New Jersey law. The strong evaluation model is the one that's being used here in Hillsborough. The other resolution asks for a delay in using NJ Ask and Park test score data because it will not be able to be used to fairly evaluate teachers. The second example from NorthJersey.com, also from this calendar year, covers the story of several school districts taking a stand against unfunded mandates. They include Saddlebrook, Denville, Montville, Reddington, and Wayne. They are appealing to the New Jersey Council of Local Mandates in regards to park testing, Achieve NJ, and Common Core implementation. To quote the Saddlebrook School Board trustee and president, Marilyn Naslow, I think that the unfunded mandates are continuing to grow, and our district is getting strapped. I totally understand the decisions that are being made by government for these things to be done, but they have to realize the funding and impact of the local districts. State mandates are not going to disappear, and the bottom line is, as valuable and important as they are, they cost money. Money that school districts, including ours, just don't have. It shouldn't be a question of this over that, computers versus people, privatization versus state compliance. We should not have to sacrifice services, program, and people to comply with these mandates. If the state wants to mandate these types of programs, then I urge you to follow the lead of other districts, take a stand, and push for proper funding. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you
Good evening. My name is Henry Goodhue. I live on Laurel Drive in Hillsborough, and I'm a teacher at Auten Road. I would like to thank you for reconsidering your position on privatization. As I've said at previous meetings, Hillsborough is the part of many, it's made great by the many parts, and I appreciate and respect that you chose not to remove one of those parts, that you chose to keep our family whole, and that you viewed it as the people, as our community members, as our neighbors, and not necessarily just as dollars on a spreadsheet. So I appreciate that. I wanted to thank you for that. I realize that this is probably not the last time we are going to have a conversation along these lines, and I would like to encourage you, as I am encouraged by your decisions tonight, to choose to pursue course of action that is beneficial to all of us, where we can stand united on it, where it is not a line drawn with people on one side and the board on another. I would like you to consider the things that Ms. Salinger brought in terms of unfunded mandates, and just to say thank you for maintaining Hillsborough, for keeping Hillsborough what it is. I appreciate that. Thank you, and I hope that you will continue to do so.
Thank you.
Lisa Pecorello, 1108 Washington Common. I'm a new parent with a 3-year-old in Woods Road, and it's really important to me to make sure that my son is safe and well taken care of by a well-trained, professional, and well-treated staff, which includes the custodians. So I was very concerned to hear that privatization was something that was on the table, especially from the firsthand experience I have as a teacher in Montgomery Township, where it is in one of our schools, and the quality and safety issues there are a great concern to me that would come to my son's school. So this is my first board meeting, and I'm glad to be leaving with a favorable impression that the board is willing to listen to its staff and to its employees, to the taxpayers and to the parents. And I look forward to coming back and continuing these discussions and finding out more about how things work, and appreciate that you are listening to us and that you're thinking about our children.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marissa Sladek, and I'm from 681 Dover Court. I come to you, again, with the same similar thought. I'm going to tell you a couple stories. My twins are in 2nd grade. They are on a bus in a Kensington bus. They've had 2 different drivers in the morning, and they've had now 4 different drivers in the afternoon. My sons are both on the autistic spectrum. They have issues with transition. 4 different drivers in the afternoon is not a good thing for transition. I'm asking for not only the thought process to not privatize the custodians and the other staff members, but think about not privatizing busing as well and bring that back in, with this not being a stable environment for our children to ride in a bus. Now, I know most of you here might have heard this story, but I'm going to tell it for others. My son's in kindergarten. My son's first day of school, he got lost on the bus. The private bus driver showed up an hour late and said, "There's no aid, I'm not driving this bus." The district personnel was not given the information. She didn't know my child was on the autistic spectrum or had a limited communication ability. He also had been just removed from his augmentative communication device. So there was no way to communicate his wants, feelings, and needs to this driver. Thankfully, my child's gifted as well. So after he woke up and was discovered, he pointed to his backpack and said, "Hey, this is me." However, he was afraid to drive on a bus for a month. I drove him. And then this is where the stable part comes in. He had the same bus driver that he had the year before, and the year before that. He has had the same bus driver for 3 years. I can probably count on one hand the amount of times that Mr. Bill has not been there. That is a stable bus driver. I am asking for, once again, to consider not privatizing. I'm asking that you consider bringing the busing back into the district to provide a stable environment for our children. I'm cautioning you that you tried privatizing aides and bus aides before, We took a stand against that. Now's the time to stand, that we will not tolerate this anymore, and this needs to stop. Perhaps there needs to be another way to balance the budget, but privatization should not be it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Lynn Lenchester-Wood, first Vice President of the HEA. I just wanted to say thank you for the magic you guys worked. Thank you, Dr. Schiff and the administration and the board for listening. And we didn't know how you were going to do it to get that 1.3 million, but you did it, and we all appreciate it. And Dana Blevins wanted to say, because he couldn't be here tonight, that he does appreciate it and is happy that this was the conclusion. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Maria DeLucia, 122 South Triangle Road, and second VP of the HEA. I couldn't resist. I would like to thank all of you for what I know was countless hours and struggle in coming to this conclusion. But I would like to say thank you, because I am finally going to sleep tonight. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. Kintz, Dr. Schiff, members of the Board of Education, and the community of Hillsborough. My name is Marie Bliston. I am a 30-plus year teacher of students in special education, hailing south from here in Gloucester County. That's off of exit 2 of the Turnpike. And I also have the privilege of being the Vice President of the New Jersey Education Association, representing over 200,000 of our public school employees across the state. And I mentioned that I'm off of exit 2, ladies and gentlemen, because it was about 3 years ago when I served in the role of Secretary Treasurer that I actually came here and visited Hillsborough schools. I visited the staff, I visited with the administration, with the former superintendent and the former president of the Education Association, and I visited here because even off of exit 2, I had heard and read about Hillsborough. And I read about the school district and the accomplishments. And I asked if I could have permission to come here and see firsthand what was going on here. When I still hear and see statistics that are so noteworthy, third graders receiving awards and commendations from the President of the United States, custodians working with high school students, teacher who was considered a hero, a model, and your high school ranked in the top 14% of all high schools statewide. We know that if we randomly asked residents why they are here, they came here, they moved here, and they stay here because of the public school system. But I want to make note and just reiterate what the former speaker said, because it is not the district, it is not the buildings, it is the people in the buildings that make those accomplishments happen. Every single part, as one of the former members just said, is part of the whole here. I know as Board of Education members, you are volunteers, and we commend you for stepping up to serve in this capacity during these most challenging of my 30-year career that I have ever seen. But I will say to you at the same time that you know that priorities are nothing, or budgets are nothing more than priorities in numbers. It is clear that you know what the priorities are in this district, what it should be everywhere. And I commend you, and I commend the staff and all the residents in Hillsborough for the support and the leadership that you are modeling for our future generation, our children. Thank you.
Thank you. We're pretty proud of this district as well. Thanks. I'll open it up to any.
How about we do a motion, second, and then discussion? I'm sorry.
That would be fine.
I didn't mean to.
No, that works. That works. That provides us an opportunity to discuss in a more formal manner. Thank you. So I'd like to entertain a motion
To approve the adoption.
to approve the adoption of the final 2014 budget as stated in the agenda. Do you want to present it real quick or just go through it? I don't want to have to read it.
No, that's all right.
As is listed in the agenda.
That's fine.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion. I'm gonna take the lead first. What's that? Okay. One of the other tenets that I try to have as board president is part of that robust discussion is to provide an environment where we can disagree without being disagreeable. And I think everybody has risen to that. I myself am not going to vote in favor of the budget, and I want to be able to state my reasons why. It has nothing to do, it doesn't have to do with the privatization or the other areas. It has primarily to do with the one-to-one initiative, and I've expressed my concern about employing that in the 2014. My preference would actually be to delay it a year. We're halfway through the year where it's 20%, and I think to go from where we are now to the next is going to be challenging. I share, as I expressed in the previous meeting, I have concerns about the growth, the requirements of out-of-control costs as they are going to happen over the next couple of years. And if we make this large investment, which is going to increase over time, both in terms of what the budgetary plan is and also potentially what the unintended costs are. With that, I will be voting against it. But as I've said before, I'm disagreeing, but I'm not being disagreeable and trying to shepherd it through the process. So I just wanted to provide some insights for why we'll be voting no. Yeah. Okay. Mrs. Haley.
Even though I've said multiple times at this day is that I don't support outsourcing, which I don't. Many of you know my mom is a teacher as well that started off her career as a long-term substitute. But from the first presentation, it didn't come as a surprise that I was unhappy with the methodology as to how we were developing the budget, which had to do with dipping into the bank cap. And my fear, as I expressed earlier, is that we're on a path that's unsustainable and that next year, whoever is sitting at this dais, that 1.3 million that we do have left will also be gone. And I really don't know what we're going to do after that. So because I've asked for different ways of cutting and reevaluating programs, and although I'm happy to see that Dr. Schiff listened to not just myself, but other members of the board about taking out some administrative costs, for me, it still wasn't a good enough option. So I also will be voting no, because I don't agree with the methodology of how we reached the conclusion with the dollars. So, thank you.
Is there a commentary? Yep, Mrs. Santafonte.
I don't have a whole lot to say, not very eloquent, just I think what the majority of us believe, and myself especially, is that we really did listen to input and we did our best. And based on that, I can vote for the budget. So thank you very much for your input. What I would say, and I would piggyback on what Dr. Fasana had said earlier, is it does help to have some feedback earlier than when we're getting to the final moments of trying to really figure out where we are and what questions we're asking. So, but thank you very much. And like I said, it's not very eloquent, but I think we tried to meet the needs of the students and the district as best we could.
Okay. Mrs. Bogaczewski.
Well, I guess I'll say a little bit. This was a very difficult decision for me. First of all, with children being in the district and, you know, living in a wonderful neighborhood and a wonderful town, and, you know, you're so proud of where you are and the education that our children have. I mean, you just want to give everybody the best all around. But I think my hardest decision was the fact that not only do we pay taxes who work here, but also a lot of my neighbors are retired and live on a fixed income, and it's hard for me to go to them to tell them that I'm sorry, but for our students to excel, we have to raise our taxes. But as I walked around the neighborhood, I realized, but what they really want is they want to continue the success that their children once received. So I am pleased to say that I am proud of our budget. I never wanted to see anyone leave because I too like the fact that my children can come and go in safety. My neighbors are janitors, my neighbors are teachers, are substitutes, and I would be devastated to lose any of them.
Thank you. All right. Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Oh, Tom?
Oh, sorry, Mr. Pulsifer. It's hard to see this setup.
I hate this long dais. It's hard to tell what everybody's doing. This has been a long, hard process for us, but I think, we did what we could to listen to everybody's needs and listen to the public and still find a way to not curtail programming or certainly minimize how much we curtail programming. But I think, as we look at the cap and all the restrictions placed on us and the mention of, unfunded mandates, we have to recognize that, if these costs continue to spiral out of control, we're going to come to much harder decisions next year and the year after. I don't want to get into the cap, the bank cap, but I don't see how we can not. When you look at the numbers, and I mentioned this at one of our earlier meetings, the increase in healthcare premiums this year is equal to the 2% cap growth. So right off the bat, just on that number alone, we've already exhausted the 2% levy increase. So, there are plenty of other costs, our energy costs and other costs that are going to continue to go up, and again, out of our control. And we're really being squeezed. So I would ask for all of us, for the board, for the public, for the staff, we need to be thinking ahead now about how do we address these issues in the years to come. Because at the rate things are going, and certainly with essentially flat aid, although I think we got more than 13,000 this year, but it's basically flat aid, costs that we can't control going up well beyond the limits of that 2% cap. This board, this district, and this township, and Millstone, we're going to have to find a way to solve these problems because we just keep growing and growing out of control the things that we can't touch. We are going to get to the point where we will hurt the students because the money just won't be there. Whether that means increased class sizes or cutting programs or reducing any kind of extra services or anything like that. As these costs keep going up, at some point we will have no choice. So as was mentioned before, I think we need input, and as board members, we need to come up with input a lot earlier in the process to figure out how we're going to solve this problem. I hate to say it, but I have no faith in our governor or in our legislature to do anything about this, so we're going to have to find a way ourselves. That's our future. I think that's our future problems, but as far as tonight, I'm glad that we were able to take everybody's input and find a way, at least for this year, to get to a budget that I think at least meets everybody's needs. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Pulsifer. Dr. Swasan.
I just wanted to piggyback on something that a lot of our speakers were saying about the board taking action with our legislature and the Department of Education about the unfunded mandates and everything. I want to emphasize that our board, many of us, did not want to privatize. I don't think anybody did, including the front office. But it was through your action as citizens and as a unified front of your union that you affected this budget. And I'm hopeful that you just won't count on the board, since Dr. Schiff does talk to legislatures, people in the legislature and people in the Department of Ed. But if you could bring to bear on our government, in Trenton, the same level of passion and energy that you brought here, that is the only thing that's going to change anything. And so I urge you as private citizens and as your union to communicate as effectively as you did with us to them, because it's a much larger problem than what we can really handle here among the 9 of us and the front office of the Hillsborough Public School District. So please talk to Jack Chitterelli. I'm sure Jack's going to love me for saying that. Donna Simon, and try to affect the same change there that you affected here. So thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Dr. Sasson.
I just have one more thing.
Okay, Mr.
Before we
Gillette.
vote. And I just thought of it when Dr. Swanson mentioned that Assemblyman Chitterelli, who did come to the board during budget time to request funding for our robotics team. And although we didn't discuss it tonight, I just want to let the public know, and those that are interested, and maybe there are some students here tonight, I'm not sure, that we do have some ideas about funding for the robotics team. I did speak with Dr. Schiff about it. We haven't had a committee meeting about it where we've talked about it yet, so I don't think it's really open for discussion tonight. But I just want to reassure them that we have some ideas, and we'll probably be making some announcement about that in a future meeting. Correct, Dr. Schiff? Is that good?
Yeah, it has to be reported through committee. But reported through committee.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Looks like we've got everybody who wants to speak. Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Surely. Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Dutta?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
No.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
And Mr. Kintz?
No.
Motion passes.
Okay, motion passes. The budget is approved. We're gonna take a 15-minute recess. We'll reconvene at 10 of. I gotta get it just. Okay, we're reconvening from recess. And now that we completed the budget action, the board has moved as such. Now we'll hand it over to Dr. Schiff for the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Kins. It's my pleasure to share some good news, additional good news with the board and the community this evening. Megan Staton, a sophomore and German 3 honor student at Hillsborough High School, was recently awarded an endowed trip to Germany from the American Association of Teachers of German. Megan was awarded this amazing opportunity based upon the results of her excellent score on the 2014 National German exam for high school students and a series of interviews with both high school German teachers as well as college professors of German. Megan is one of only 44 students from across the nation chosen for this award. Congratulations on your achievement, Megan. This evening, I also wish to extend my congratulations to Candy Meyer, chemistry teacher at Hillsborough High School. Candy was recently selected as a recipient of the 2014 Outstanding High School Chemistry Teacher Award by the Princeton and Trenton sections of the American Chemical Society, ACS. This award is presented to a chemistry teacher that exemplifies the attributes of an outstanding educator. Candy will receive her award in May at an upcoming meeting of the Princeton ACS section held at Princeton University. Congratulations, Candy, and she's here with us tonight. Would you please stand up, Candy? Be recognized. Congratulations. You make us very proud. I am sure that there are a few Robo-Raters in the crowd, and I don't wish to steal their thunder, but I do want to congratulate them for their successes. Team 75 was recently invited to participate in the first competitions, the first championship that was held April 24th through the 26th in St. Louis, Missouri. In total, over 12,000 students from around the world attended this three-day event. Special congratulations to Hillsborough High School senior Jane Tong, who was one of only 4 students at the competition to be awarded the Dr. Bart Common Memorial Scholarship. The team has had an amazing season this year, both at competitions and through all the hard work they do for our community to spread STEM excitement and understanding. Congratulations on a job well done, Robo Raiders and Jane Tong. 2 exciting events were held at the Hillsborough Board of Education offices on Friday, April 24th. During this morning and afternoon, Hillsborough Township Schools hosted over 20 members of the New Jersey Network of Superintendents, hosted by the Panasonic Foundation, for what they call an equity visit in 3 of our district schools. Visitors toured Sunnymead, Auten Road, Hillsborough Middle to observe how our district has piloted the use of technology in the classroom. All of these visitors were given opportunities to observe, evaluate, and interview participating school staff and administrators. This visit was a great opportunity to showcase superintendents from across the state of New Jersey some of the amazing work that is being done in our classrooms every single day. And we thank the New Jersey Network of Superintendents for visiting Hillsborough Township Public Schools. I also wish to acknowledge that on Friday, the district held the Superintendent's Gala celebrating excellence in the arts. This is the 3rd annual evening gala celebrating the culinary, visual, and musical art skills of our students. Over 650 pieces of visual artwork were displayed, including a rotating digital gallery. Our culinary arts and Sodexo chefs served nearly 370 dinners that night. The evening also featured 15 students at the art demonstration tables, 15 docents on hand to lead visitors through the gallery, 148 students, musical performers, 62 students leading our Be Our Guest sing-along, and countless of hours of preparation and setup time by our visual and performing arts staff, custodial staff, secretaries, and administrative team. Let's give a big round of applause to everyone who participated in this wonderful event. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Schiff. Continuing on to the agenda is the approval of minutes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve the April 7th, 2014 regular meeting minutes.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion passes. Committee reports. I believe we had one committee.
Sir.
Governance Committee.
Governance Committee met last Wednesday evening. We discussed, again, something that's been a hot topic over the past several weeks, which is becoming more active legislatively and trying to influence some legislation to help to curb costs. I know that Dr. Schiff has also done a really good job and actually testified a few weeks ago in Trenton on behalf of one of the bills in support of it. We also discussed the board retreat, and the decision was that I believe Mr. Mahmood was going to start to email board members to potentially get vacation days when people were going to be on vacation. We felt, even though I wasn't really thrilled with this prospect, that possibly 2 Monday evenings split in half in July might be the best way to go. But again, that's just to be seen instead of waiting until September, especially since we've all just had such robust discussions around the budget and priorities and thinking forward. And we reviewed, as we have been doing, some of our policies for first reading, second reading, and just to go over what we think may need changes, may not need changes, and we'll continue to do that. So that is all. Thank you.
All right, there was also a committee of the chairs, which is an ad hoc committee that I sometimes call upon, where it's the committee chairs from each of the standing committees just to review the budget, which then was an input to the final budget. Okay. Now I'd like to open the floor to the public for comments. This is for either new business or items that are on the action agenda. Name and address, please.
Hello. 9 Upper Neshannock Court, Thomas. Now, I had a question, or I guess a concern, I don't know if it's actually on tonight's budget, or I heard something about robotics, wanting to increase funding there. If I can't talk about it, then so be it, but I would stand here and say that I probably wouldn't favor an increase because of the fact of all the stuff we were discussing tonight with the concern with money being short and having to really be fiscally responsible. So I don't think a proposed or even a thought of increasing the robotics budget would be a good idea at this time, and maybe in the future if we something happened concerning Abbott districts, which again I'd really like to see something be done with that. I don't know that that will, but we need to give it time because we don't have the money. So I would caution not to favor a proposed or an idea of a proposed increase in robotics budget. Second thing, I brought this up I think 3 weeks ago or whenever the last meeting was. Again, I'm here in strong opposition to Common Core. We must stop this federal government monstrosity. As a lot of things I don't like from the federal government, that being included. So we really must tread as lightly as possible. I know New Jersey was the one who they accepted Common Core, but we must tread lightly as a district if we can. And I stand here in strong opposition. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Zabely.
Hi, Dana Sealander, 6 Mulford Lane. I am the parent of 2 students in the Hillsborough Township Public Schools and a lifelong Hillsborough resident. I want to thank you in advance for allowing me the time to speak and asking you to please be patient, as I have never been known to be short-winded. I am here as the concerned parent of my daughter, who's a 3rd grade student in Miss Pamela Eng's class at Woods Road School. On Sunday, April 12th, my daughter informed me that her class had not been afforded the opportunity to salute the flag during this school year. The only time, in fact, that the class has saluted the flag is when there was a substitute teacher in the room. I have since found out that this was the case last year as well. I have spent the past 2 weeks dealing with this issue through what I believe to be the appropriate channels. The following day, Monday, April 13th, I emailed the school's principal, Ms. Jody Howe. I had considered emailing Ms. Eng directly, but chose to email her immediate supervisor instead. I had made this decision because I felt strongly that an issue that includes both disregard for the law and indoctrination of students needed to be brought to the immediate attention of the school's administration. Unfortunately, after 24 hours, I had only received an out-of-office reply. At that time, given the severity of the issue at hand, I felt the need to inform the HTPS administration. Thank you, Dr. Schiff, for your prompt reply. At Dr. Schiff's request, through the end of last week, I did follow up with Ms. Howe. Ms. Howe, however, has not been a strong, thorough, competent, or transparent leader in the way she is handling this situation. Ms. Howe is not fighting for the rights of the students in the class over the rights of the teacher. Ms. Howe is not holding Ms. Eng to the same standards of accountability to which she holds her students. And Ms. Howe continues to fail to address my continued concerns with any reasonable degree of specificity. So I'm here tonight to ask for your help in accomplishing a thorough, student-centered, transparent resolution to this matter. In my initial email to Ms. Howe, I reiterated the New Jersey state law regarding the Pledge of Allegiance, and I spoke to how this action raises serious concerns regarding the indoctrination of my daughter's class. While I am sensitive to the fact that Ms. Howe was out of the office, I also expect that a competent principal and leader would ensure that urgent matters relating to the misconduct of her staff would receive an immediate reply. As I previously stated, after 24 hours, I had received no reply from anyone at Woods Road School. At the very least, I expected an acknowledgement of receipt of my email and an assurance that the issue is being immediately addressed. My first question to you is it acceptable for the administrator of a school to not reply to such an urgent matter within 24 hours?
Yeah, unfortunately, I can talk with you about process. We have, if an administrator is sick or ill or on vacation during a period of time, it is not the expectation that they respond within 24 hours of receipt of a request. It is a reasonable expectation that if they are working during that time that they do, approximately 24 hours.
Thank you. On the evening of Tuesday, April 14th, as you know, I emailed my concerns to all of you. In that email, I also included my concerns related to the competency of the school principal, Ms. Howe. There are only two possible reasons, there are only two possible reasonable scenarios regarding Ms. Howe's involvement in this omission. Either Ms. Howe was unaware of the daily routines of her non-tenured teaching staff, or she was aware of the omission but allowed it to continue. Either scenario speaks volumes to the lack of leadership at Woods Road School. In your reply, Dr. Schiff, you thanked me for bringing the matter to the attention of all involved, assured me that the issue was being addressed, and informed me that Ms. Howe would follow up with me by early the following week. Thank you again for that reply. On Tuesday, April 22nd, Ms. Howe did in fact call me to address the situation. The telephone conversation proceeded exactly as I would have expected. Number one, Ms. Howe assured me that as of Tuesday, April 14th, Ms. Eng's class had been and would continue to be afforded the opportunity daily to salute the flag. For this, I am very appreciative. Number two, Ms. Howe assured me that Ms. Eng had been interviewed. The result of that interview was that Ms. Eng reported that she had been omitting the pledge for the simple reason of time management in the classroom. And number three, Ms. Howe assured me that various members of the HTPS administration had visited Ms. Eng's classroom since the incident, and that Ms. Eng's observed teaching practices at those times were age appropriate and curriculum appropriate. During that conversation, I did inquire into Ms. Howe's prior knowledge of this situation, the omission. She reported that she had been unaware of it until my email. During that call, I was also quite clear in my conviction that omission of the Pledge of Allegiance in a public school classroom every day for almost 2 entire years must be based upon more than inefficient time management. I appreciate that Ms. Howe would not share her personal opinions on the matter. I appreciate that Ms. Howe reported that Ms. Eng had been observed and that no inappropriate content matter had been discussed during those observations. I appreciate that Ms. Howe assured me that several other members of the teaching staff at Woods Road who had spent time in Ms. Eng's classroom reported the same, no other examples of indoctrination. In addition, Ms. Howe even promised to interview the teacher who was present in the room during social studies, who she had not previously interviewed. The concern I continue to voice, however, is the concern for what is taking place in Ms. Eng's classroom during the vast majority of the day when there are no other adults present in the room. If Ms. Eng was so brazen as to omit the Pledge of Allegiance from her students' day, then again I ask you, could it be possible, or even probable, that she is indoctrinating those students in discrete ways throughout the times during the day when she is alone in the classroom with the students?
Mrs. Sealander, I think you need to be cautious and careful. You're making very broad accusations of a staff member. And that, if a staff member then has a negative employment consequence based upon an allegation that isn't accurate, it can be problematic for you legally. So it's important that, that as you express yourself, you're expressing yourself based upon knowledge and fact, not opinion about what may or may not have happened. This board will not be commenting and cannot comment on personnel matters. The concern that you have regarding transparency, unfortunately, will not be satisfactory to you. Personnel matters are private. Any public employee has the right to due process, and they also have the right not to have the public aware of any issue involving discipline or other personnel matters. So this board will not be commenting on that. I can tell you what our process is, and if you would allow me, I'll take a minute of time just to kind of walk you through that. Every morning across the district in all 9 schools, we have morning announcements, and during those morning announcements, in almost every single school, a child or a staff member actually dictates the Pledge of Allegiance, and children and staff say the Pledge of Allegiance at that time. At 3 out of our 9 schools, the pledge is prompted, meaning that during the announcements, either a student or a staff member says, okay, now please stand, put your hand over your heart, and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. So in our district, every single day, The pledge is either said directly through the process of morning announcements, or it is prompted. So that kind of gives you the process.
Thank you. Yes, thank you for that clarity, and I appreciate your concern for my voicing of my opinion versus facts. I want to.
I mean, you have the right to voice your opinion.
Right. I want to preface.
But if you express your opinion as if it is fact,
right,
and it is
understood,
incorrect, and it leads to a negative employment consequence falsely, then that can expose you to legal action, or anyone that stands up at a public microphone
certainly,
and makes those accusations. So I caution you.
And I appreciate that caution, that word of caution. And I then want to preface the rest of what I'm going to say by telling you all that this is, in fact, my opinion. Everything I'm about to say and have said so far is, in fact, my opinion. What I am looking for is due process, and I will get to that in just a few moments if you would allow me to continue. Ladies and gentlemen, the Pledge of Allegiance takes 12 to 15 seconds to recite. Even taking into account the time it takes for students to rise and sit, this is less than a 60-second legally mandated privilege of every public school student in the state of New Jersey. Ms. Eng is undoubtedly an intelligent, resourceful teacher who I believe could have certainly structured her class's day in such a way to find this time. Instead, it seems to me that Ms. Eng made a deliberate decision every day for the better part of 220 school days to not offer her class this opportunity. Every morning, it's my belief that she was reminded on the overhead announcement through the prompt that Dr. Schiff just discussed, as I believe that's the way it's done at Woods Road School, that it was time to stand and salute the flag. She did not, by my child's admission and the admission of many other children in the class, forget every once in a while, nor did she skip it a few times because the class was in the middle of an important lesson. While still unacceptable, that in my mind would be understandable. Instead, it is my opinion that she decided each and every day to disregard the law and strip my child of her right to openly pledge allegiance to our nation's flag. Again, in my opinion, this is undeniably indoctrination of a trusting, eager, impressionable class of third grade students. I at this point have two more questions to ask you, and I don't know that you're going to be able to, I respect that you might not be able to answer. Number one, I'm wondering if any of you are able to reconcile another reason for her daily omission of the pledge in her classroom routine. And number two, I'm wondering if this or any type of indoctrination is tolerated or going to be tolerated in Hillsborough Township Public Schools. 24 hours after my conversation with Ms. Howe, I sent her a follow-up email. In this email, I reiterated my beliefs about Ms. Eng's motivation, asked that the investigation into those believed motivations continue, and asked that the investigation include interviews of the students of our classes from both this year and last. Though I was reluctant to do this, I feel strongly that interviewing the students is the only means by which we can accurately gather information as to the classroom routine and teachings when other adults are not present in the room. In addition, I asked that Ms. Eng be held accountable to both her current students and prior students, as well as their families, for her actions. And I asked that, my hope, ladies and gentlemen, is that at the end of a thorough investigation, Ms. Eng will be absolved of any wrongdoing. I hope that she will take accountability for the gravity of her error and that the message that it sent. Ms. Eng is irrefutably a competent teacher. Countless people, some of them whom are here tonight, would or will attest to both her competence as a teacher as well as their own child's wonderful personal experience in her classroom. My own daughter is one of them. Children, however, are not always the best at knowing when a crucial wrong is being committed against them. I have taught both of my children to obey authority, to accept and follow rules even when they might not agree, to abide by classroom rules and routines as they are expected to do at home with the utmost respect. So when my daughter informed me that Miss Eng told the class in the beginning of the year that she did not have time to salute the flag, my daughter simply didn't question it. To the best of my knowledge, neither did any other student in the class. Why would they? Again, thank you for your continued attention. Your time is appreciated. I'm just asking for a few more moments of it. At this time, I'd like to discuss my frustration with my opinion, what I see as a lack of leadership to which this issue speaks in Woods Road School, as well as to the manner in which this issue has been mishandled by Ms. Howe. As I previously mentioned, after my phone conversation with Ms. Howe on April 22nd, I sent 2 follow-up emails allowing her to reply in between. When I sent these follow-up inquiries, as is typical of my personal dealings with Ms. Howe, my email instigated a reply that was curt and enigmatic. Both of her emails did thank me for expressing my concerns and opinions, but she did not restate those opinions for the sake of clarity. Both of her emails stressed the importance of confidentiality of personal matters, but she did not address any part of my email not relating to those personnel matters. And both of her emails assured me that she was handling and would continue to handle the situation, but she did not provide any information as to how that was being done. I know that you were all CC'd on this email correspondence, so at this time, I would like to ask you all 2 additional questions. I wonder if you found Ms. Howe's reply to be thorough, acceptable, competent replies by the principal and leader of a school to a concerned parent. And number 2, I wonder if you feel that, and I think Dr. Schiff, you already spoke to this, we as parents should expect greater transparency in the leadership of our school.
Just to clarify what I said, when it comes to personnel matters, it isn't transparent. It is not something that the public will be aware of, and that is required. It's not a choice that the board is making to keep information from the public. All of our employees have the right to privacy when it comes to personnel matters.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
You know, some of my questions regarding transparency, you know, I think I did stress, you know, although I appreciate, you know, the transparency, the private nature, confidential nature of personnel matters, you know, my concerns were other than personnel matters, you know, how this was being addressed in the classroom. The first day the pledge was spoken in the class, according to my daughter and another child to whom I spoke, and by Ms. Howe's own omission, whatever administrator was in the room at that time, all agreed that a lot of the children kind of questioned it, you know, like, what are we doing this for? You know, why is this happening? We've never done, you know, we don't do this. And yet that opportunity was not taken, you know, no accountability was taken, no explanation was given. I felt like that was a huge missed opportunity in terms of how it was dealt with for my child in particular, to let the onus on me why I had to explain that to her. You know, versus, you know, a lesson which I am consistently teaching my children, which is to take accountability when you do something wrong.
What I can share with you is that we do take the matter seriously. The appropriate steps have and will continue to be taken.
Thank you. I do appreciate that.
And from board members' perspective, we did receive each of the emails that we were CC'd on.
Oh, thank you. I'm sorry.
That's okay. And with personnel matters, there's a process before it even comes to board members.
Okay.
So we have to let it go through the appropriate process.
Thank you. I just want to sum up, ladies and gentlemen, by saying that, in my opinion, a strong, competent leader would have restated my concerns, addressed each of them, and given me at least some insight into how the situation was and would continue to be handled. Again, I am sensitive to what you've told me here tonight. While I am sensitive to the confidential nature of some personnel matters, as a taxpaying Hillsborough resident whose children attend the public schools, I feel I have more of a right to know how the accountability for a matter of this gravity is going to be addressed. The fact of the matter is, I'm not certain that Ms. Howe has a plan for accountability because I've been given no information to the contrary. In this envelope, I have emails for you all from no fewer than 5 Woods Road School parents who were similarly disgruntled with the leadership at Woods Road School, just as it pertains to this specific issue. I have a second envelope with letters from no fewer than 10 parents, including myself, detailing personal accounts of past issues related to the consistently frustrating what we see is the consistently frustrating lack of respectable, thorough, competent leadership at Woods Road School. In addition, here tonight, I believe there are a multitude of parents whom I believe wish to speak to the same. I have one final group of questions for you all. Short of going to superintendent's coffee, coming to Board of Ed meetings, what else can we, as Woods Road School parents, our beloved Woods Road School, do to make sure that our voices are heard? Is there any plan to reinitiate the Community Partnership Network? And what is the continued evaluation process for tenured administrative staff in the district, specifically principals? And how can the opinions of the parents of our school be included in that process?
Well, we could spend a lot of time talking about the new teacher and administrator evaluation models, but because the time is growing late, what I can share with you is that we do have a comprehensive process of evaluating both tenured as well as non-tenured school administrators across a variety of different standards. It's a research-based program. This is the first year that we have implemented it with both our leadership team as well as our teachers. This is a requirement of a new law that was passed about a year and a half, 2 years ago. As far as having your voices heard, continuing to make yourselves available and to talk with your building level administrator, with myself, Dr. Antunes, our assistant superintendent as well. The parents of the community always have opportunities to hear their voice heard, even in public at a meeting such as this. I do suggest, however, that having a dialogue during a superintendent's coffee or contacting me and having that dialogue is a good way to discuss, particular matters. But most importantly, when someone has a concern about a particular individual, that those concerns are presented directly to that individual and giving that individual an opportunity to address and respond.
Thank you all for your time.
Thank you, Mrs. Sealander. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Ann Helmessy, 17 Matthew Road. I was also very concerned and upset when I found out that my third grader also was not doing the Pledge of the Flag. However, my take on it is that she didn't tell her parents because she knew it was wrong, and I didn't like that aspect, that she kept it a secret knowing it was not proper. Anyway, so I did also send emails to Ms. Howe, and of course her responses were out of the office and vague. However, I know someone must have been reading her emails because the pledge started in the classroom before she returned from her vacation, which again, I think if I was managing a school system, I would say, you know what, at least get back to that parent. Don't just give them the general out-of-office reply. Let them know we actually read the email and we're addressing it. Anyway, so I did send another email, and one of the issues I brought up that you said yourself, that I said, I think, let's see. I said, in most of the schools, it is said over the loudspeaker by a different child every morning, or it's simply office staff. And my suggestion to Ms. Howe is that it would be appropriate for the students of Ms. Eng's class to take turns announcing the pledge for the last days of the school year. And with keeping Ms. Eng's integrity, because my daughter really enjoys her and so do I said Ms. Eng could simply let the children know how important the pledge is and that her class has been chosen for this honor. I think with that suggestion, the whole situation could have been handled in-house as opposed to coming to the board. So with listening to all that's been said today, I think the broader problem here is that not only with this issue, but with every issue that seems to come up in Woods Road School, and I had 2 children prior that went through Woods Road School with a different principal. The sense of family and the sense of community, we understand there has to be new procedures for getting into buildings and all that because it's for safety, but it's the leadership in that school that makes every issue such a stress for every parent. And it's not just with this issue, it's with every issue. So I think that someone needs to look at, all problems that are brought up. Obviously, there's some letters there, but every time you go to the principal, her response is not only vague, but it's not like the family environment you expect. Anyway, to give you an example on that, I'm in and out of the school all the time. I'm very involved with the Home and School Association. Ms. Howe sees me every day, and yet one time I went into the nurse's office and asked a friend's daughter what was wrong with her, and instead of her just talking to me like a parent that she knows and sees every day, she jumped in and started telling me the rules and acted like she didn't even know me and asked me to leave the room. Again, I had to go have a meeting with her just about how to address a parent that's in and out of the schools all the time and tell her just how horrible that felt. Anyway, I'm getting off the subject a little bit, but I think that we do have a leadership problem at Woods Road School. And Ms. Eng is a new teacher. She's a very good teacher. Maybe she wasn't even made aware of the statute at all. But I think it's the manager of the school, the principal of the school, to be sure that everyone does know the rules and to be following up with her staff. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Ray Votash. I live at 10 Duncan Court, and I have a child in Auten Road and a child in Woods Road. And some of you have mentioned that you have children, and as a parent, it sickens me to feel every single day that I can't wait until my baby grows up and goes to Auten Road and gets out of Woods Road. The environment there, the environment is horrible at Woods Road. I've tried to speak to the principal. I've even contacted Dr. Schiff's office about the principal. She treats parents poorly, and that's what I was most offended by about the things that Ms. Sealander already raised, is the way she was treated and responded to by the principal. It's a horrible situation, and I hope you look into this a little bit further. And as was already said, either Ms. Howe didn't know what was going on or didn't care. It's a bad situation. Ms. Howe has made the decision to make a change to my child's education plan, and I did not find out except by happenstance of having a conversation with her teacher. I was not notified by the principal. I was not notified by the central office. I had to just hear it by chance. So, are there laws and rules that have to be followed, or can Ms. Howe just do whatever she wants? And just one more example. You had a meeting here at the high school. The meeting didn't start until 7:30. The doors were unlocked. We were welcome to come in, to find a seat. If this meeting had been held at Woods Road School, the doors would be locked until 7:29, and the parents would be forced to stand outside while Ms. Howe is inside the building. That's all.
Thank you.
Hi, Krista Mesware. I live at 8 Bredover Court. I have nothing prepared, so I apologize. However, I come from the days of Scott Rocco, because I have an older child as well. And anybody who does come from the days of Scott Rocco could stand here with the utmost certainty and say, no matter who went into that building, they were never going to compare to Scott Rocco. So Jody Howe was already put at a disadvantage right from the get-go, because Mr. Personality versus, she doesn't really have a warm personality. Therefore, I'm going to say that prior to last year, I was pretty indifferent about her because I wasn't going to get that warm, fuzzy feeling. However, as last year happened, I saw a definite change in Jody Howe. Maybe a lot of you haven't, but I've been around a while, I've seen a big change. Now, since I don't have anything prepared, I just want to read, I want to go from Pam Ang. My son had Pam Ang last year. My son was in her class, and I'll be honest, we were less than thrilled to have a new classroom teacher. Yet again, we were assured that we would be pleasantly surprised. At the end of second grade, we had a feeling that he was significantly behind. He has no behavioral issues, so therefore kind of flew under the radar. Pam saw something going on with his education as well. Dr. Nemec and Ms. Ang definitely both felt that he needed to see an INRS. At that point, we wanted him evaluated because he had already lost enough time. However, my son's confidence soared in Pam Ang's class. And my husband and I sat there wondering how that could be because he was more than a year behind academically. And he thought he was a rock star intellectually. Now, that is a testimony to Pam's classroom management and how she handles her classroom. It can't just be my kid. My kid's special to me. He's not that special. Like, you know what I mean. His academic career was definitely changed because of her. And he, although felt that his friends were smarter than he is, her classroom approach made a difference, and he felt really intelligent. And he had never felt that way until 3rd grade. I think we have to look at what's really important here. And her classroom is a beautiful place to be. She is a wonderful teacher, warm, helpful, and they have learned so much in her class. My son has. And I know many other kids have as well. I do feel that the omission of the pledge needs to be dealt with. I'm not going to say that. But can we reference the fact that Ms. Howe was on vacation? Well, because I feel that it's unfair to say she didn't get back to people's emails when she was on vacation. And if something is being handled within the building, we as parents don't have the right to know how it's being handled. We just have to trust that it's being handled. These are the people that were put in charge by the people that we voted for. Therefore, we should trust that the situations are being handled. I don't feel it's fair to attack Jody's, the way she handled the situation, because we don't know how she handled the situation. We have no access to that information. I feel that I want to go back to, I just want to say that the change that I saw in Ms. Howe from last year to this year was significant. And she even called me one night because my son had an issue in school, and she did not get back to me during the school day. She called me at home, 8:30 at night, 8:45, something like that. Couldn't believe that she called me at night. So there are changes being made. Maybe she didn't come off on the right foot, but maybe she's trying. And I feel that if this is an attack on the leadership of Woods Road School, please don't use one of Woods Road's teachers as your pawn to get the leader of Woods Road School out of it. That's all I ask. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bridget Almada. I live on Bree Court. I just wanted to share with you an email that I had written and sent to you this morning. I just wanted to share it again. I'm writing to you today in support of a teacher at Woods Road School. Her name is Pamela Ang, and I'm sure by now you've heard quite a bit about her. I don't normally involve myself in such matters, but would be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to tell you what a wonderful teacher and positive influence she has been in my son Nathaniel's life. Miss Ang was my child's teacher during the last school year. Not only did she teach him in such a way that he wanted to go to school every day, but she recognized some learning issues he was having and was instrumental in helping him get the help he needed. Apparently, there are some parents right now on a mission to destroy Miss Ang's reputation and career. It has been brought to the attention of her current class and last year's families that the morning pledge hasn't been being said. I am personally very patriotic, but do not take such strong issue with this. At some point, schools can't be responsible for everything. Having that been said, I know there are numerous parents that would disagree with such a statement. I understand they're upset, but are taking it too far. I don't understand why the first parent who started this uproar, Miss Sealander, didn't just reach out to Miss Ang and express her objection to the pledge not being said. I have found Miss Ang very approachable and very accommodating, and I'm sure she would have immediately apologized and rectified the situation. This parent went to the school's principal instead, but didn't get the immediate response she was looking for, so went straight to the board. My child has been in Woods Road School for 5 years now, and I couldn't be happier with the school, the teachers, support staff, and the principal. It has been a wonderful place for my child to learn, and I've always felt that if I was having an issue with something happening at the school, that I could express my concern and it would be dealt with fairly and accordingly.
Instead, this parent chose to turn this into some kind of witch hunt, stating that the pledge was omitted due to political or religious beliefs, and now everything she has taught our children has to be looked at because her opinions may have changed and pushed our children's opinions. Really? If you were to ask me what religion Miss Eng practices, what political party she's affiliated with, if any, or even what country her ancestors immigrated from, I couldn't tell you. Not because I don't care, but because it is something she has never shared with me or with my son in the classroom. She has never been anything but a professional educator. I'm not saying that she didn't make a mistake, but it would have been as simple as pointing it out. We all make mistakes, and I implore you to find someone who hasn't made a mistake at work. A simple mistake is not worth a young woman's reputation and career. I'm not sure what prompted all of this last week, but I'm inclined to believe that the pending New Jersey lawsuit involving an atheist family and the pledge has something to do with it. Money makes people do and say things they wouldn't otherwise. I really hope that is not the case, but this woman is going after Miss Eng with such vigor, I really don't see any other motivator. I was sent multiple emails with around 50 other recipients about this from Miss Sealander. Some of the recipients never even had Miss Eng as a teacher, and it really just needs to stop. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Board. My name is Jay McChesney, and for 23 years I've worn the cloth of our country as an active and reserve member of the United States Coast Guard. It has come to my attention that the principal and a member of Woods Road have failed to comply with state law in regards to the Pledge of Allegiance. I have sacrificed a great deal of time away from my friends and family so we can sit in this room and enjoy the freedoms America has to offer. Some in this room would disagree, which is great because we live in a free nation. It takes about 15 seconds out of our busy day to remind us that we're all Americans. Throughout my career, I've been told to bring to my supervisor solutions rather than problems. So tonight, I'm going to ask Dr. Schiff to contact Ms. Howe to reinstate the Pledge of Allegiance over the loudspeaker at Woods Road School. From what I've been told from my older children, this is a current practice at Harrison Middle School, and it's a little bit concerning that it's not occurring at all 9 schools and just 3. I am proud of being an American. I say the Pledge of Allegiance to remind me of the ultimate sacrifices that many men and women have made to make this the greatest country in the world. We must never allow ourselves to become too busy to remember that we live in the land of the free because of the brave. We should be reminded every day of the values that have defined this great nation. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you. We thank you for your service. Okay, thank you for your public input. Moving on with the agenda is the action agenda. Dr. Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Kins. I ask the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of education: to approve travel and related expenses, overnight field trips, and the field trip destination, additional family math sessions, approve out-of-district placements as listed, as well as the HIB investigation list.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items A1 through A6 of the action agenda.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any? Yeah, we have full board here. Any discussion? Mrs. Haas.
Yes. I would like to discuss item A5. I would like to know why we have 2 out-of-district placements, one of which starts on April 11th, which passed, and another that starts tomorrow. I'd like to understand why we have out-of-district placements with a month and a half to go of school.
These are recommendations that were made by our interim director of special services based upon the individual needs of students. I can certainly come back with the details again.
Well, unfortunately, we have to vote on it tonight.
And frankly, I think that the reason that we are placing children out of district so late in the school year is that it is a necessity to do so.
Well, it would be nice for the
I'm
board
sorry,
to
hold
know
on.
that.
You said safety? Okay, I'm being told by Dr. Antunes that it is a safety issue.
A safety issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, one of the tuitions is $42,000 and the other is $74,000. And I really think that if we're looking at years of budget problems coming to us, that we need to look at every item on the agenda.
Yes, these are also prorated at that particular rate, but you are correct. For the year, it would have been $42,000 for the first and $74,000 for the second.
Any other discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Dutta?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Kim?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion passes. Continuing on with the action agenda.
I ask for the following motions to be considered under the area of human resources. To approve the retirements of Judy Everett, who has been our media specialist at the Hillsborough High School since 2005, as well as Jerry Fierce, media specialist over at Woods Road School, who has worked with us since 1993. Lucille Titus, teacher of earth science at the high school, has been with us since 2000. And our supervisor of fine and performing arts, Olga Zaretsky, who has been working in the district since 1984. We thank all of these professionals for their time, energy, and effort that they have given to the children of Hillsborough. Also approving the resignations as listed, the revised leaves of absences, revised long-term substitutes, transfers and changes in assignments for 2014-2015 school year, the approved leaves of absences, and the appointments of long-term subs, teacher assistants, transportation aides, interim assistant superintendent for personnel, substitutes, revised mentors, student teachers, extra period coverages as listed.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items B1 through B9 of the action agenda.
So moved.
Can I have a second? Second. Okay, any discussion?
Tom,
Mrs. Haley?
can we separate, sorry, excuse me, B6-4, please?
6-4, okay.
Tom? Can we also separate B 6.2, please?
6.2, okay.
And
Okay.
B8.
Mrs. Haas? B8. Okay. Any other? Okay, so current motion is for items B1 through B9, excluding items B6.2, B6.4, and B8. Yep. Got that? Okay, any discussion?
Yeah.
Mrs. Haas?
Yeah, I have quite a few. We have a leave of absence here for a maintenance worker. I would like to know who replaces him when he's absent. Do we have substitute maintenance workers? Do we have interim maintenance workers?
Mr. Mahmood?
Mrs. Haas, we do not have an interim maintenance worker that we budget for.
Okay, and how does his work get done when he's absent?
Usually that is, we do split up the work with the existing maintenance staff, and they kind of absorb the work. It does slow up some of the work orders without an extra body, but we are able to get it done.
What a concept.
Thank you, Mrs. Haas.
I also have questions on B3, 3.2, and 3.3. Those are impossible leave of absence dates because you have effective March 17th, 2015 through June 17th, 2014, impossible. And the next one, you've got September 2014 to April 2014, impossible. What are the actual dates? Is it 13 to 14? Is it 14 to 15?
They're all 14. Right now, they're all 14.
They can't be.
September 2014 to April 30th, 2014, for B 3.3, right?
September.
That's be 2013, September 2013.
What, did it start in 2013, or is it going to 2015?
No, it started in, this is 3.3?
Yeah.
It started in 2013.
Okay, so just make the change.
The typos will be corrected for the record.
Okay. You know, for whatever it's worth, for 9 years that I've been on the board, I've been asking for agendas with more than one day for board members to be able to contact administration when errors are noted, okay? I ask again that the board members do not receive their agenda on Friday night after 5 o'clock and are expected to work on it all weekend and have nobody to call when there are questions.
Absolutely, and we would, if there's any questions, Mrs. Haas, that you wish to bring to us on the morning of Monday, we would address it immediately and try to rectify it before we actually get to the dais. We have at times been able to release the agenda on a Thursday. We hope to try to, we hope to aspire to do that. We did have discussion actually 2 years ago about changing the meeting date of the meeting day of the week of the board to a Thursday, which was resoundingly defeated. So we'll continue to work on that, Mrs. Haas.
Okay, and then my semi-final comment is we have a long-term substitute here that is listed from May 19th to June 30th. School does not end on June 30th, and the distance from May 19th to the last day of school, which is June 18th, is 22 days. Is it necessary to do this?
The contract is through June 30th?
Yes.
Teacher's contract is through June 30th, which is why
Right.
that's on
Do
there. is
long-term
through
substitutes
June
work
30th?
through June 30th?
It's the same contract as everybody else for long-term substitutes.
No.
But you would only be paid for the days that you work.
Yeah, absolutely.
So why add days beyond the end of school?
Everybody has the same contract. All teachers' contracts say September 1 through June 30th. The teachers are not working throughout June 30th, but they get the contract that says September 1 through June 30.
But our long-term substitutes do not. They get a contract from the dates that they start to the date that they end.
Mrs. Haas, we can certainly take a look at that for future agendas, but it's important for the board in terms of action tonight that you will only be paid for the days that you worked.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. So again, it's items B1 through B9, excluding 6.2, 6.4, B8, with 3.3 amended as discussed, or revised with the dates.
Yep. 3.2 also.
And 3.2.
Yep.
Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Dutta?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes, with corrections.
Okay. Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson? Yes. And Mr. Cant?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, motion passes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve item B 6.2.
So moved?
Second? Second. Discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Dutta?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Abstain.
Abstain. And Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay, I'd like to entertain a motion to approve item B 6.4.
So moved?
Second.
Discussion?
Thank you.
Mrs. Haley, this is B 6.4.
Yes.
Okay.
So I appreciate that Dr. Schiff listened to this board when we rejected the replacement for Mr. Whitlock the last time around. And he's lowered the daily rate, and I think it looks like he's taken away the amount of days that this person would be in. However, as I voted against every administrative addition, I will continue to do so, so I just wanted to make that clear.
Thank you, Mrs. Haley. Any other discussion? Mr. Pulsifer?
Go ahead, you can go.
Mrs. Haas?
I've heard a number of times at different places and different situations as we've talked about bringing in replacements. A number of times I've heard it stated we shouldn't be paying two people to do one job. I'd like to remind the members of the board and the public that I would wager we do this 95% of the time, if not 100% of the days of the school year. We pay two people to do one job. Why do we do it? because it's an important job, and we know it needs to be done, and we know we need somebody in that position. So I would say the same applies here. This is a very important job to be done at this time of the year. We don't have multiple people in this role where they can cover each other's work areas, as was just discussed about maintenance workers. There's one person in this role. And so to say that we would go that long a period without the right person doing that job at such a critical time of the year, with non-renewals and tenure and everything else, and evaluations and HIB, everything else that has to be done at this time of the year, that needs a specialist in that area to do it, that sometimes, unfortunately, due to medical reasons, we pay two people to do the same job. There's nothing wrong with that when it's a very important job, and I certainly believe that the evaluation process and all the legal requirements around the regular end-of-year work in the human resources area is very important, and if our designated person cannot make it, it's certainly an important enough job to get somebody in there to do it.
Sure, clarification.
What day was our last board meeting? April 7th?
Yes.
Okay,
Mhm.
what's today?
28th.
What have we been doing
28th.
in between that time then?
Falling behind.
Falling behind?
If I had to guess.
I want to make sure I have it for the record.
Would you like me to answer?
Yeah, but we'll let the superintendent answer.
We have divided up the responsibilities among myself and Dr. Antunes and Mr. Mahmood. The HIB, which is just kind of a daily type of activity, is something that I'm working on with principals currently, as well as the personnel, the process of the renewals and all of the interviews that are going on now. We also have Dr. Antunes that is helping out with the day-to-day, working with the staff on requests for personal days and other day-to-day issues that come up in that particular department. Mr. Mahmood is working with benefits at this particular point in time.
And might I say what a wonderful job you guys have been doing, coming together.
Thank you, Mrs. Bogaczewski. Okay. Roll call, Mrs. Haas.
Yeah. I made the point about the maintenance worker, because actually maintenance workers have a finite number of work orders that they need to do, and it is troublesome for other people to pick up the slack, but somehow they manage to do so. The personnel office is not a one-person office. There are numerous people who work in the personnel office. Everything is not done by the head of the office. And the bottom line is, in private industry, all of the time, people are doing more work when people are absent, when people are laid off, when people are fired, because the economy requires it. And the fact of the matter is, we just had to make a major cut in our budget, and we're still over the cap. And as long as we are over the cap, I think this board needs to pay a lot more attention to paying two people to do the same work paying two people not to do the same work, but because of our sick leave policies and the need to replace somebody. And I think, yes, you know, if something gets through, I've seen a number of errors right here in the agenda, and errors happen. They happen whether people are here, and they happen when people are not here. And I really think that if we're going to look forward to next year's budget without the disaster we had to go through this year, I really think we need to start paying attention now, and every little bit counts. So I will be voting no.
Okay, thank you, Mrs. Haas. Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Bogaczewski.
No.
Ms. Santafonte.
Yes.
Mr. Dutta.
No.
Mr. Gillette.
Yes.
Mrs. Haas.
No.
Mrs. Haley.
No.
Mr. Pulsifer.
Yes.
Ms. Wasson.
Yes.
Mr. Kent.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve item B8.
So moved?
I have a second? Mrs. Santafonte.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Bogaczewski.
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte.
Yes.
Mr. Dutta.
Yes.
Mr. Gillette.
Yes.
Mrs. Haas.
Abstain.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. Continue on with the action agenda. Dr. Schiff.
Thank you, Mr. Kintz. I ask for the board's consideration of the following motions under the area of operations: to approve monthly financials, bills list, line item transfers, the local agreement with the Somerset County ESC for the transportation services for next school year, approve the resolution for the ROD grants projects as listed.
I'd like to entertain a motion to approve items C1 through C5 of the action agenda.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion?
I
Mrs.
need
Haas.
C4 separated out.
You betcha. Okay. Okay, so now the motion is for items C1 through C3 and C5, otherwise known as C1 through C5, excluding C4. Okay. Roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Dutta?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Yes.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. I'd like to entertain a motion to approve item C4 of the action agenda.
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? Okay, roll call, please, Mr. Mahmood.
Ms. Bogoshevsky?
Yes.
Ms. Santafonte?
Yes.
Mr. Dutta?
Yes.
Mr. Gillette?
Yes.
Mrs. Haas?
Abstain.
Mrs. Haley?
Yes.
Mr. Pulsifer?
Yes.
Ms. Wasson?
Yes.
And Mr. Kent?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. I'd like to open the floor to the public. Third opportunity for public comment.
Old business.
For-
It's old business.
Old business.
Oh, boy.
Amy Salinger, Ottenroyd School Treasurer of the ATA. I just had a quick question about a couple of years ago when we were trying to pass a budget, Dr. Schiff, you had mentioned a program for senior citizens on fixed incomes. Does that still exist? And I only bring it up because Mrs. Bogochevsky, you had brought that up as a concern for some of your neighbors.
Yes, the senior tax freeze is still in effect, and for seniors that have a certain level of income, they will not pay any more property taxes in subsequent years than the year that they qualify. And I would encourage any of our seniors in the community, if you are not on the senior freeze, to please do so. It is a quick application process, and then you are rebated back the property taxes that are in excess of what you would qualify for. A good amount of our seniors in the community do take advantage of the senior freeze. It's questionable every budget year whether it's funded fully moving forward, but it certainly won't hurt, and it has helped a great number of seniors in our community and across the state. Thank you for bringing that up.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Maria DeLucia. I believe many of you today may have received your invitations for Pinch Hit for ESP. It's a new program that we would love to have get off the ground. It's scheduled for May 29th. It's a Thursday, in which you can, if you volunteer to come in, you can walk in the shoes of a support staff member, either a custodian, a lunch aide, an instructional assistant, or secretary. And I'm sure I'm forgetting something because I'm always nervous. However, it's a great opportunity, and a maintenance worker, and even if you want to try more than one, we could try and match you up to walk in the steps with more than one support staff member to see how things are from our side. So I encourage all of you to take part, as many of you that can. We welcome you, and we hope to be one of the first districts in the state of New Jersey to get this off the ground and running. So thank you.
All right, thank you. Any old business from the board? Mr. Gillette.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Dr. Schiff a question about something came up in some of the discussion tonight from the public about principals being absent. I just want to ask you, we know that when a principal is going to be out of the building, maybe for some type of leave, we would typically hire a substitute, and the substitute obviously would answer email. And occasionally a principal can be absent for a day during a school day and get back to their email the next day. But do we have anything in place where if a principal of a school is going to be absent for a few days in a row during school days, for anyone to pick up their email and answer, anyone to cover just for email purposes or to get back to a
Right.
parent?
Yeah.
I don't think we have that, but maybe
No,
we should think about it.
we do have a teacher that will handle the day-to-day issues that would come up if a principal is out of the building for any period of time. But as far as covering the email, we don't have a process. I would talk with our leadership team about the possibility of when you put in the out-of-office reply, you have another contact that would be available that a parent could get in touch
I
with.
think that would be helpful,
Yeah.
even if maybe if another principal from another building covered.
Or one of us.
Or one, or,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, or one of you. So that, I know it comes up rarely. I know it's not usual for principals certainly to be on vacation during school year. We had an unusual school year this year. But thank you for your.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Gillette. Mrs. Haley?
Question. Being that I know one of the members of the public brought this up before, I just want some clarification too, because I've been in town for 8 years, obviously not too long, and only on the board for 3. We've never had our own busing system, have we, with our own buses and our own drivers? Or am I wrong?
Probably not for 40 years or more.
Okay,
We've-
I
we've
just
used
want to make
private
sure that I'm not
contractors
missing something.
Many years.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Deek
Okay.
would probably.
Just got a clarification from Mr. Mahmood. We have 8 buses.
Small fleet.
That is in
Right.
our own
But
fleet.
we've never mass bussed in a very, very long time, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. I'd like to entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? We are adjourned. Thank you.
Who would